I yield to the gentleman from Louisiana, the Majority Leader, Mr. Scalise, for 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Appropriations Chair, my good friend, Ms. Granger from Texas, for yielding and for bringing this important legislation, which I strongly support. We have seen the atrocities in Israel. We have always stood by Israel, and in fact, the United States is proud to be the first country that recognized Israel as a Jewish state on the heels of World War II, as the nations were coming together and recognizing the importance that we all get behind a Jewish state. But unfortunately, from that day, there were always people around the neighborhood who wished Israel harm. Over time, you've seen peace agreements, Abraham Accords, but you've always seen seeds of discord. And of course, the biggest discord started with Iran funding terrorist organizations like Hamas. And Hamas took action weeks ago, atrocities that are hard to repeat. We've seen, and the world needs to continue to see, because unfortunately, as the world is seeing the atrocities, while we recognize the lives that have been lost, not only Israelis, Jews, Americans, Palestinians, but you also see the ugly head of anti-Semitism popping up here on college campuses in the United States, other places around the nation and the world where anti-Semitism seems to rise its ugly head at times when Israel seems to be in a dangerous position. These are times when we all need to be standing with Israel, giving them the tools they need to make sure they can defend themselves against these atrocities. That's what this legislation does. And in fact, we worked with the leadership in Israel. We worked with the Biden administration, the Pentagon, others who know what's at stake. We've had longtime partnerships in our strength and our defense systems. If you think about the Iron Dome, David Sling, weapon systems that will be replenished with this legislation. A lot of this is American technology that's been partnered with Israel over many, many years to save lives in Israel. And as those weapon systems get depleted, we need to make sure they're replenished. The Iron Beam system, more advanced missile systems, some of the other partnerships that we've had for a long time, that's also funded in this bill. So making sure that Israel has the tools they need. We came out of the box ensuring, under Speaker Mike Johnson, that we send a strong message to the world that we support Israel, passing strong legislation to unite behind Israel. But now we need to back that up with action, with the support and military strength that they need to continue this conflict. And it's actually paid for not by taking away existing IRS agents, but tens of thousands of new proposed IRS agents. And where are they coming from? Who are they going after? If you look at the CBO report, the IRS agents actually proposed that we would be defunding in this. We're helping President Biden keep his promise. If you heard over and over and over again, President Biden said no American making under $400,000 will pay a dime in new taxes. We all heard that. It was a promise made over and over and over again, except President Biden broke that promise. Families making under $400,000 are paying more in new taxes. And part of that is the army of IRS agents that they're sending after people, tens of thousands. Under this bill, these IRS agents that we would be eliminating save the American taxpayers making under $400,000 a total of $4 billion. $4 billion back in the pockets of hardworking families who were promised by President Biden they wouldn't see their taxes go up. And yet he wanted to put tens of thousands of IRS agents looking into and raising their taxes. That won't happen if this bill passes, which is more money they need right now because prices are higher on those families. But at the end of the day, sending the message that we're willing to stand up to Iran, give Israel the tools they need. Tomorrow we're bringing more legislation, by the way, in the SHIP Act to put sanctions on Iranian oil. Again, Iran is at the heart and center of funding Hamas. Hamas started this. As the president talks about a ceasefire, It was Hamas who broke the ceasefire when they invaded and attacked and murdered barbarically Israel. And so Israel needs the right to defend themselves. They need the tools to defend themselves. But let's also defund Iran and the money they're getting. They made $80 billion during the Biden administration selling their oil on world markets. We need to pass that legislation tomorrow, which we will, and hopefully a very big bipartisan vote. We need to start today by passing this legislation to give them the tools they need in Israel to make sure that they can push back and destroy Hamas, protect those citizens in Israel who deserve peace. And America's always stood by our ally Israel. Let's continue that today. Urge passage and would be happy to yield to